Hey everyone, Christian Caple here, University of Washington Huskies football reporter for onmontlake.com, my site over at Substack, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my very first time doing this. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm going to take you behind the scenes here on my recent trip to Las Vegas for Big Ten Media Day. First things first, please subscribe to this page. Please click like. Please leave me feedback in the comments. The plan is to take you guys behind the scenes as much as possible. Interview access, practice clips, some of my own thoughts from time to time on Husky football, and of course, we're going to plan on publishing every episode of Say Who, Say Pod here as well. Media Day is actually a 3-day event now with 18 teams in the Big Ten because I only cover the Washington Huskies. I only go for their day. They went on day 2 on Wednesday, so I flew out Tuesday in preparation for that 10:40 a.m. flight out of SeaTac on Alaska Airlines. Always park on the roof of the parking garage so you don't have to mess around with trying to find a spot. Fun fact, forgot my passport on this trip and I don't have a real ID yet. If you're in the same boat, don't worry. They will still take your driver's license. They just give you a little red slip that says, hey, get your real ID. You're going to need it. Flew out of the D gates, which is under construction. We had to take a bus onto the tarmac. You can see us boarding on the little wheelie contraption there. This did end up being a relatively stress-free flight. We got in about when we were supposed to. The famous welcome to Las Vegas sign. Don't check a bag. Never check a bag. What are you doing? Was happy on a 99-degree day to hop into an air-conditioned Uber. And you see all the familiar Las Vegas sights. There's the Sphere, there's a big pyramid, and eventually we arrive at Mandalay Bay. The media day was in the convention center here. I never stayed here before, actually. I did go to my room mostly so I could show you this fantastic view of what has to be my favorite desert airport. From there, I went to get my credential, even though I wasn't really working on Tuesday since Washington wasn't going yet. You see all the Big Ten branding. There's trophies Big Ten teams have won. You might be more interested in this one. Hello, Braylon Trice. Uniforms for every school. This was the first chance to get an up-close look at Washington's new uniforms, which, quite controversially, have a new shoulder stripe. I don't know. It looks fine. A couple familiar faces on the Big Ten Network desk. There's Ashley Adamson. There's Yogi Roth. They're broadcasting live from this event. I ate a salad. I walked past the Mandalay Bay food court and ate a salad. Can you believe that? That's a Modelo, though. Went out with Tyson Alger, my guy from the I-5 corridor, for tacos and beers. Woke up the next day, bright and early, to come down and do some one-on-ones. Checking out the event space here. I talked to Jonah Coleman. I talked to Ephesians Prysock, and of course Jed Fish for quite a while on Wednesday morning. This is the podium breakout space. So the head coach and all 3 players from each school do like 45-minute small group sessions where it's pretty easy to get some good access. Not as good of access as the conference's television partners, though. They've all got their own spaces. ESPN behind closed doors, the Big Ten Network behind closed doors. Fox Sports has 2 rooms. NBC Sports has 2 rooms. On Montlake did not get its own room, in case you were wondering. This is the Media Hospitality Lounge, in case you're wondering what that looks like. Coffee there, the most important part. Got to hand it to the Big Ten. This was an impressive spread from the pitmaster. I'll give you a look here. Salad, you're starting out okay for the diet. Mac and cheese, not so much. Corn, okay. The rolls were great. The coleslaw, I didn't try. There was some chicken thigh. There was some other meat involved that I tried to hide under my salad. I'm trying to eat healthy, but what am I supposed to do here? I mean, look at that. Jonah Coleman, Ephesians Prysock, Damon Williams, joining Ashley Adamson on the Big Ten Network live. There's Jed Fish doing the same. As we waited for him, I wanted to give you a look at the crowd of reporters waiting to talk to Penn State's James Franklin. You can tell what the bigger brands are at this event for sure. That's Luke Fickell from Wisconsin. He's here talking about his team. Ephesians Prysock, I got the chance to catch up with, like I said earlier in the day. Told me his goals for this year: 5 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, between 50 and 70 tackles, and he wants to be an All-American. He worked out for part of the summer at Exos with Jonah Coleman, looking for a place to work out for when he's going through the pre-draft process. Damon Williams Jr. at his first Big Ten Media Day. Got asked a lot of questions, as you might guess, about what sort of quarterbacks he looks up to or models his game after. He mentioned Russell Wilson. He mentioned Bryce Young. One guy he brought up a couple times was Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions, and doing a lot of studying of Detroit's offense and the ways that he plays within that system. I thought that was interesting. Jedd Fisch is not the most quotable coach, but he might be the very most straightforward. If you read my one-on-one interview with him that I published it on montlake.com for subscribers, you saw him lay out his thoughts very clearly on how the spring portal should work, on how OTAs should work off of that, on how maybe Montlake Futures, Washington's donor collective, might need to ramp back up and raise more money because who the hell knows how all this house settlement stuff is going down. Jonah Coleman seems about as dialed in as a running back can be right now. Jedd Fisch talked about how he'd never seen him in better shape mentally, emotionally, physically. I talked to Jonah a little bit about what he wanted to prioritize this offseason, this summer specifically. Says he wants to get faster after spending the winter cutting body fat and working on his durability. Seems like he's poised for a big year. Here you see Ephesians Prysock having some fun with him. This is a common occurrence at media days. Guys like to play reporter a little bit. Jonah tries to play it straight with him, but you see him start cracking up here at the end. And of course, after that, it was Damon Williams Jr.'s turn to do the same. I think what he was asking him, if I remember right, is that what Jonah would do if he was trying to run through a hole and saw Damon Williams sitting there playing linebacker. Both seemed to think they would come out on top, but they got a good kick out of that. Here's the crowd talking to Jedd Fisch a little bit later in his session. Maybe the most quotable thing to come from him at this event was saying something like, the NFL doesn't stop in the middle of its season to play against the CFL, criticizing the SEC's non-conference schedule. Anyway, Jonah Coleman and now Ephesians Prysock getting their turn to play reporter with Jedd Fisch. This was a good question Jonah asked. He asked if he had seen his likeness in the College Football 26 game yet, because coaches got added. He said that he had, and then he asked both guys if they would allow him to play the game with them because he'd never played it before. They said, of course, and laughs were had all around. They were the last group to go, Washington was. It was about 5 o'clock by the time they wrapped up, so it was time for me to head to the airport for a 7:45 p.m. flight home. This has been a tradition ever since Media Day, Pac-12 Media Day, as you get a look at the new baseball stadium that the Athletics will someday inhabit. To try to get out the same day as the event, get home to the family, not have to spend an extra night in the hotel. At Burbank and in Hollywood, that was a lot easier than in Indianapolis. I ate another salad. I didn't even eat the croutons. Look at me go. A lot less drama around this flight. No bus to the tarmac. And look, it was like half full, so I had an empty middle seat, which is always an awesome feeling. Landed back in Seattle a little before 10:30. Oh, that fresh Pacific Northwest air. There's nothing like it. You see the lights of the Emerald Queen. Driving south, that lets you know you're almost home. But you're not actually home until you greet the welcoming committee. Hi, Bernie. Good dog. Thanks for coming with me on this journey. If you like this video, if you want to see more, if you want to follow the Washington Huskies as they enter what I think is going to be a pretty interesting 2025 season, if you want to see behind the scenes, if you want to see and hear from player and coaches and what it's like at practice, go ahead and click subscribe. Click like, leave a comment, and if you're interested in even more coverage from a longtime reporter like myself who's got inside access to the program, check out onmontlake.com and think about subscribing to my Substack, where you can read regular, unique, insightful coverage of the Washington Huskies football team. Hopefully I'll talk to you soon.